Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim. The empty seat over there is Uncle Gary. Down below is Archduke Kevy, and next to him is Dan Kelly Art. This is Breaking the Code. One topic, no script. And tonight it is all about nostalgia. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you have as much of a great time as we are about to when we get into this. But before we do, let's go ahead and get some business out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on all the socials. All you got to do is type in at the CODEX station, and that is where you will find us, your favorite social media platforms, and where we're live streaming right now. Dan, what do they need to do when they see us on there?
You got to go on there. You got to click follow or subscribe, whatever it is, depending on the platform. Make sure that you like whatever video you're watching and go watch some other videos. Like them too. Drop some comments. Let us know what you see that you like. Let us know what you don't like. Let us know what you would like to see us do in the future. Like Boomhauer says on King of the Hill, just gotta click. It's really easy, man.
That's fantastic. Also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that neat little QR code that is right over there. Go ahead and use your smartphone to scan it, or go type the link down below, patreon.com/the CODEX station. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can join our patrons and be super awesome and get access to your favorite creators like Uncle Gary, Archduke Kevy, and Dan from Instagram, who is formerly on Instagram, now live on Instagram, and so much more. Right, exactly. And he's also on Threads too, but he's not going to use it. Yeah, so Patreon, it's a super awesome thing to do, and we would very much appreciate it if you could do that. Dan, speaking of that, go ahead and let everybody know all about your Instagram page.
Yeah, I post my art, my music, my writing, any creative stuff that I do. I post on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. So go give me a follow. Let me know what you think of this stuff, and let me know what you'd like to see going forward.
There we go. Archduke Kevy, always a pleasure to have you here. Please let everybody know where they can find you when you are not here on CODEX.
Good to be had. When I'm not here, I am often screaming into Dan's abyss. But you can also find me on Facebook.
Excuse me, Dan. I need to scream into your abyss for a second. Can you step aside?
Just give me a sec, dude. I'm on
Facebook.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Comic Character of the Day, where we post a different character and all sorts of other goodies regarding this lovely geekery that we all know and love. And we'd love to have you come and become part of our family like all these yokels right here.
There you go. And last but not least, Uncle Gary, please let everybody know where they can find you at the most logical shop to visit or on an awesome podcast.
That is right. Thank you. That is a wonderful segue. So I am a proud co-owner of Comic Logic in Ashburn, Virginia. We're Loudoun County's only comic store. So if you're in Northern Virginia, please come see us. We would love to talk comics with you and maybe point you in the right direction on a wonderful book. So please come see us. At Comic Logic, two of the other co-owners, Mr. Rob Kalin, our big kahuna, and Mike Harbor, my best friend in the world. He and I do a show called Ye Grumpier Old Nerds that's on the second and third Thursday of every month at 6-ish is when we kick that off, and that's a Facebook live stream. And on Facebook, I am under the name Opie Taylor, and I am currently posting covers on Archduke Kevy's site there that he created, Comic Character of the Day, and I'm putting up a lot of old school covers I'm putting up there, and it's through his site that I got hooked up with CODEX Station. So nice. I think old Kevy here is a lot of lines can be drawn back to that point right there, from
it's
him.
Like
so that's where you can see me. Yep.
Like
absolutely.
That scene in It's Always Sunny where he's got the cigarette in his hand and he's pointing to the board with all the strings and wires and pictures, and it's this, guys. It's all back to Archduke Kevy.
Yeah, we can have. He's at the center of our murder.
Also have
But all right, let's dive into this. And Kevin, I want you to start us off. Let's talk nostalgia. So that I left open on purpose
Mhm.
for comic books, for pop culture, uh, how all of that fits in, how it makes you feel, and why is it that way for you?
Well, Thomas Wolfe famously posited, "You can't go home again." And I agree with that in as far as a lot of the stuff that we fell in love with. I think a lot of it was because we discovered it right in that sweet spot in our development where it was like I don't want to use the term traumatic, but because it was like that, but in a positive way,
Mhm.
it was so impressive that it impressed upon us how cool GI Joe and Transformers and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Thundercats and Voltron and all these things and the comic books that we all knew and loved and grew up with was just mind blowing. And if you go back, or at least if I go back and I reread them, it's like it's not as amazing as it was when I was 10 years old and reading it for the first time and being like, holy crap, I can't believe he punched Thor.
I don't
Yeah,
think
shit
anything
happened.
can be that amazing when you're
Right.
10 and reading
Yeah.
something like that, and
Yes,
like
absolutely.
yeah, like you said, wow, he punched Thor, or when Batman punched Guy Gardner in the face,
Right.
right? That those things you're just unexpecting those because those characters are the pantheons, right? They are the gods, they are the
Yeah.
gladiators, they are
Mhm.
this, they are that. Yeah.
But the older I get, the more it has to be something like so bizarre and innovative to
Mhm.
actually make me go, I didn't see that coming. And that's a sound thing for me anyway. Like I miss my innocence of being able to read something for the first time that's just to my 50-year-old self, meh, and just be like, this was the most amazing, mind-blowing thing I've ever read or seen in my entire life. I just miss the simple the
Mhm.
simple times where that could be a thing.
Right on. I understand that. Dan, why don't you tell us about nostalgia? You touched on that a little bit during the comic character of the week episode, so please deep dive into that a little bit more for us.
Yeah, I'll agree with Kevin that it takes you back to a simpler time because when you're a kid, it's the stuff that you are paying attention to is like, whatever money you get for your allowance, like I'm gonna buy this the Snake Eyes figure I've been wanting, or I'm gonna buy these comics. Like, when you're an adult, you don't have money for that. It's like I gotta make a car payment, I gotta make a phone payment, and I gotta pay this bill,
I
and
gotta
I
eat.
gotta go to work, and you gotta worry about all this other stuff. And when you're a kid, you don't have those worries. It's just, the entertainment stuff. And like he said, it doesn't have the impact that it had when you were a kid. But if you had started reading comics when you were 25, it might kind of be the same thing. It's just as you go back, you have those fond memories that when you're reading stuff, or seeing a movie or hearing a song, whatever it is, like it takes you back. It's something that's really significant to you. It takes you back to that time in your life, when things might have been simpler, or even for some people, when life might have been harder for them then, but it takes you back to that moment in time, that you just can't get to that anymore. Like I said, when I'm going through my boxes and I'm flipping through to organize books and put new stuff away, and I flip past those issues of Amazing Spider-Man that I remember as some of the first ones I got. Like it just makes me think, even if it's just for a minute, it just makes me think about, like, yeah, when I was a kid and I didn't have all the worries and frustrations I might have now. Like, and I think about the first time that I read it, and like Kevin said, like, oh, that was really cool that this happened, but like I said, I think it's nostalgia just in general is if it's something that means a lot to you, whatever that particular thing is, which for us it's in this context it would be comics, but really could be anything. you know, it could be, going back to your childhood home and seeing the swing on the big tree in the backyard. Just whatever it is, it takes you back to that time in your life when, and those memories, and that's always a nice time, a simpler time.
For me, the most recent form of nostalgia would have to be the Flash movie, right? Because all of us can remember the summer of Batman.
Yeah.
For Michael Keaton and stuff. And I was trying to explain that to my kids when we were going to see the Flash, because to them it's a new comic book movie, right? It's the new one to go see for the summer. That's what we're going to do. I was like, you guys don't understand. We haven't seen Michael Keaton as Batman for years, for 20, 30 years. And I'm like, I remember the summer of Batman. I remember driving down the road with my dad in the car and being like, why are all those people standing there? And he's like, because Batman's coming.
For the same reason we're going to be standing there in just a minute.
But exactly.
And it's different for the people, like, because everybody's seen that movie, but it's different for the people that were, invested in it when it first came out. Because, you could have watched it 2 years ago, but it's not the same as if you watched it when it came out in '89.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, go ahead, Kevin.
And the other thing, though, is I think that it would be different, and I may be completely wrong, but it's just my opinion. I think it would be completely different if the expectation for Michael Keaton was already high, and it was like, yeah, he did a good job. But the thing with Michael Keaton's Batman is we never expected him to be as good as he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brought it to another level of holy crap, Michael Keaton Batman. It added a definite package.
Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice going in there to put on the cowl and be the Caped Crusader in the Dark Knight.
Right.
I told you guys a couple weeks ago that I know that was the big concern with him, but when I saw a movie he did called Clean and Sober, where he played an actor, he was phenomenal in that movie, and I knew from that point he's going to be great, because because get about Batman. It's not how you play Batman; it's how do you play Bruce Wayne.
That's right.
Yeah,
because the costume helps you play Batman. But it's how do you come across as Bruce Wayne, who is such a conflicted individual. So Keaton was aces.
Yeah, he was amazing. But I mean that takes it in there. Like the whole movie was a nostalgic joyride. When they were showing the collision of worlds, and you got to see Christopher Reeves and Nicolas Cage fighting the spider and all that stuff. I mean,
the nostalgia that we never even really got.
Exactly.
But
like being a kid, I got a guitar pick in my hand. That's nostalgia too, right? The first time I ever got to do something like this. But being a kid and getting a hold of those issues and reading stuff like that. I can remember going to a friend's house in Baldwin, Michigan. My buddy Steve Benjamin, Jim Kent, who is not with us anymore. But they had built this garage with a loft out of spare wood they had in the backyard. It was the most rickety, dangerous thing you could ever climb in. But up in the top, in the loft, it was nothing but a pile of comic books. The first Batman books I ever read was up in that loft. And it was the stuff after Death in the Family. I can't remember the one now, but either way, it doesn't matter. The point is that's where I read a lot of that stuff. Going into Jones Ice Cream Shop in Baldwin, Michigan, and taking a couple of dollars and buying issues off of the rack. Star Foods, the grocery store, and looking at comic cards. And me and my brother in Michigan, in Big Rapids, collecting soda cans and getting all the change we could get, and running to the gas station to buy packs of Marvel Universe Series 1 or G.I. Joe or Series 2 cards and stuff like that. Man, that was the thing to do. How much money did you get, Joe? How much money did you get, Tim? Oh, we got this much. How many packs can we get? Let's go. Tear them open and all of that stuff. Some people complain about nostalgia, but I love it, right? if you want to sell me nostalgia, sell it to me because I will buy it. It makes me feel good. It makes me happy. It makes me remember things that I did when I was a kid. And I'm privileged enough that my children are at an age where I get to watch them form what will be nostalgia when they get older. And that's amazing to see, that the shows that they watch and the books that they read and things like that. It's wonderful, and it makes me sit there and think. And Gary and Dan, I'm sure you guys can relate to this too. Like when you sit there and you look at your kids and they're doing this stuff, and you're like, man, was I that excited when I picked up my first comic book, or when I picked up a guitar pick, or the first album I ever listened to all the way through? My son, and this is kind of comic related, he's getting into a band called Tally Hall. They're like this abstract, weird band, but he loves them, and they play music that I normally wouldn't listen to. But and I explained this to him the other day. He was like, "Dad, you don't like it?" I was like, "It's not that I don't like it. It's just not normally what I would listen to, but I love that you love it." And with that, it gave me the opportunity to point him in the direction of They Might Be Giants.
No, I love
Because-
They Might Be
Yeah.
Giants.
Exactly. And they're right in the same vein of that type of music. And he started listening to songs, and he's like, okay, that's all right. That's pretty cool. I was like, wait till you get to the Spider-Man song. You'll love that too. But yeah, that's nostalgia for me. I love that I got to experience it when I was a kid, even growing up, and now as a mid-40s man, I get to watch my kids do it. But Uncle Gary, go ahead and let us know how you feel about nostalgia.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I am nostalgic to a fault. So, I mean, I really am. I live, in a lot of ways, I live, in the past. I mean, hell, Kevin, look at the covers I'm posting for you, man. I mean,
I appreciate it.
when when we're in our formative years, right? Those are the things that stay with you. And I know I told you all last week, I had a childhood that was, not ideal. So the things that were special to me then, they really stick out even more because of all, the chaos that was around me.
Right.
So I just turned 59 July 8th, yesterday, a few hours into the 9th, but just
I
hours
don't
my
know if I said happy birthday to you myself.
Well,
Everybody else
you did. You actually did. So you wished me well online. You even posted on the, you posted on your site that Opie Taylor had a birthday. I appreciate that. But I'm 59 years old. What am I watching on TV every Christmas time? I'm watching Charlie Brown Christmas. I'm watching Rudolph. I'm watching The Grinch.
A Christmas Story.
All these things, yes. And I don't have kids that live at home anymore. But we all watch that together. Every Halloween, I'm watching Charlie Brown Halloween. I'm watching, my wife and I, Diane and I, will sit down and we'll watch the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. And I mean, it broke my heart a couple of years ago when CBS lost the rights to it, and it went to, I guess, Apple TV or whatever. And then I got to say, they did something that was pretty cool. Is they allowed PBS to broadcast it. My God, but it still took something away from me where all those years I was watching it on CBS, and that special came out in 1965. I came out in 1964. So that's been there my whole freaking life. Right. So here I'm an old grown man. I've seen that thing countless times. I own the DVDs of it, but I want to watch it when it's broadcast TV. Same with comics that I loved as a kid. They still mean a lot to me. And it's just when you have that excitement and that discovery, look at the Indiana Jones movies. Why it's nostalgia that's driving people to go to see that movie, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing it a lot. But I am driven by nostalgia. I the things in the past I adore. And there are even things that I didn't experience in the past that I'm doing. My wife and I'll sit down for a quiet evening and we'll watch MeTV, right? Which has, we're watching, I'm taping every morning My Three Sons episodes. Now, I saw them as reruns, okay, when I was a kid. and I would only see the color episodes. In the first episode,
Mm.
the oldest son Mike gets married, and then they bring in a young kid named Ernie that they adopt, right? But I'd never seen the black and white episodes, and there was
I used to
four,
watch those on Nick at Night all the time.
No, yeah. I
there are
forgot
4
about
seasons of the black and white episodes, and in the color episodes, Uncle Charlie was the guy that took care of the kids while the dad was, working. He's widowed. And the black and white episodes are all these episodes where Mike is the oldest brother. In the first episode of the color episodes, he gets married and you never even see him again.
Mm.
And it's taking care of the boys was William Frawley, who was Fred Mertz in I Love Lucy, and he played a character.
Wow.
He played the grandfather, Bub. He played
Wow.
Bub, and it's just I have nostalgia for this thing that I never even saw, right?
Mm.
And that I never saw. So I'm watching this. And then, of course, the ads on this are for old folks stuff, pills and
Yeah.
AARP.
Reverse mortgages.
yeah, showers that you can sit in.
Buy this
just-
CD box set of
Yeah.
musicians from the 50s.
Yeah.
You're exactly, but there's just something comforting to me
Yeah.
about this, and I watch The Rifleman. I watch old Western TV shows. I'm a huge John Wayne fan, so I love those movies. But my favorite network is Turner Classic Movies.
Mm.
Yeah.
I am a huge classic cinema fan. So, like I said, I am nostalgic to a fault. I mean, it is me, and I have an interesting comic question to ponder to you. That I mean, I have a theory, I have a belief. So, when you go by, I go to many shows and buy books. The Marvel books, even AF-15, if you want it, there are copies out there you can buy. They're out there. If you got the money, you can buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The DC books are much harder to find a lot of the key issues to. I believe that the DC collectors, because we're a little bit older, the main because a lot of my generation and later are more Marvel people, are more Marvel collectors, right? But I think the DC collectors are a little bit older, and I think they're more nostalgic, and they hold on to their books and they don't sell them until they die.
Mm.
And DC.
Do you think that's why we see these slow waves of old Golden Age DC books come out every now and then?
I do. I believe that people have died. They passed them on. You wonder how many of those great old collections are left, right?
Yeah.
But and I think we will see that with the Marvel collectors, that were collected in the 60s. I think we'll see that too. But it seems like the Marvel books, they just had a different feel to them, and I think they're always out there. And I just think that there's something about where the Marvel collectors are more apt to maybe sell, move on, do this, maybe rebuy them. But the DC collectors just hold them and don't. And that's how I am. And I hold on to my Marvel books too. But it's just I don't want to let it go. And then there's a nostalgia in the DC universe with legacy characters that the Marvel universe doesn't quite have, because the Justice Society begat the Justice League, right? And to have these generational characters, and then like Infinity Inc. was an even younger version of the JSA with their kids and things like that. So I just think there's an inherent, just in comic terms, there's more of an inherent nostalgia with the DC books and with the DC collectors than there in Marvel. Now that's just my opinion. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but that's just something I've noticed, that the DC books with a lot of these keys are just harder to track down, harder to find than the Marvel books.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Well, okay, so let's kind of take it to a different part of this conversation. This will be like the second half here. So do you think, and I think it's pretty obvious that they do, but like when they use nostalgia as a selling point only, does that give you guys pause for offense, or do you do what some people do and just dive right into it? Dan, go ahead and start us off with that.
You mean like the perfume from Watchmen?
Okay.
Remember that was the thing that Adrian Veidt had the perfume Nostalgia by Veidt, and
Yeah, that's
that
right.
ad
Yeah.
campaign that was in it that
Good
was
pull.
all based on the. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's to me, it's something that still has to be good, right? Because yeah, they're really put a lot in the Flash movie with the nostalgia aspect of Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman, and I think I think that they kind of leaned into that a bit more also because of all the problems Ezra Miller had been having. That they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can't use Ezra Miller as the focal point of the campaign, even though he's the star of the movie.
Well, at times they were pushing it like it was a Keaton movie.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they really had to push it there. So they maybe had to lean into the nostalgia aspect of it more than they would have liked. But yeah, you see, it's my generation, I guess, that's running Hollywood now, because what is it you're seeing? You're seeing Transformers, GI Joe. They're the new He-Man cartoons. It's a lot of the stuff that I even wrote a song. It was on my second album called Flashback, and the first line in the song goes, "What I loved as a kid is now coming back again. What was popular back then is, it's now popular again." And it's like, yeah, it's all this stuff that I loved as a kid, and then and then as I grew older, I still liked it, but other kids grew out of it, and now, like, oh yeah, now all that stuff's popular again. So I think, yeah, like I said, it still has to be good. If you're going to bank just on nostalgia and you're not going to put out a quality product, then you're going to see it fail. I mean, if you bank it only on nostalgia and it is a quality product, it might still fail. Like, I saw the new Indiana Jones movie. I'm a huge Indy fan. I loved the new movie. I thought it was great. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a terrible piece of shit. I saw it in the movie theater, and I haven't even watched it since then because it's so bad. But I'll watch this new one again because it is a good product. But I don't think it's hitting the numbers that they
thought it was going to.
Yeah, and it's still, and like I said, and I believe that's a quality product. So
fair enough.
If you bank on nostalgia and only on that as a selling point, like, yeah, you'll get some people that will go to it just because of that. But if it's not a quality product, then you're not going to get everyone else. Like I said, for the Keaton thing, for those of us that watched it originally in '89, it means a little something different to us than someone that, yeah, maybe they saw the movie 5 or 10 years ago, but if you weren't there at that time, it's not going to hit you the same way.
I'm going to ask each of you at the end, that'll be our final thoughts, how you felt coming out of the theater seeing Keaton. So keep that back here because that's coming. Kevin, how do you feel carrying on with what Dan's talking about?
I gotta say, I think that they need to up the game a lot more than they did when we were first watching things and reading things. Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, they were all pretty cheesy back in the day. And I think that kids today are a lot more sophisticated than we were at their age. So I think in order to bank on nostalgia, they need to bring their A game. I agree with Dan about it needs to be good. If they just bank upon, hey, we loved G.I. Joe or whatever as a kid, we could just re-release no. They actually need to tell the story that pushes forward the nostalgia. They can't just rely upon it as a base to release products or
Fair
shows.
Okay, Uncle Gary, nostalgia. Do you take pause for offense, or do you say take my money?
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be that sucker that's gonna go and give it a shot, give it a chance, just because I would rather see a nostalgic project that doesn't hit the mark than not have one at all. Because sometimes You know, I mean, I know it's like there's been disappointments in the relaunch of the Legion of Superheroes comic wise, right? Well, yeah, I didn't love what Bendis did with it, but I was just happy to see that there was a Legion book out there, right? You know, because it beats not having one.
Right.
I know the current Justice Society has gotten mixed reviews, and I think a lot of that's just because of the lateness of it. But I'm thrilled to have a Justice Society book.
Yeah.
And you damn right I'm going to support it, because if I don't support it, there'll be no Justice Society book like there's been for a long time.
Fair.
So,
Fair.
I mean, so, you know, that's part of it. So if it's something you really like, you know, as far as, you know, that's talking comics, if it's something you really like and, you know, you don't support it, then, you know, the option is to have a product that's not exactly where you want it, or none at all.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have something, because you know what? You might get a new writer on there. You might get a new artist on there, and it might take off. But if there's nothing, there's nothing, baby. So
when you get somebody that is actually passionate about the project, and you just have to muddy through the ankle deep water to get to the good stuff.
So you're saying that to support Zeb Wells.
Let's not go that far. Come on now.
I don't know if
How
there
it
was
was
nostalgia there.
Even though it's not in, you know, an older book, like I really dug the Young Justice book, and you know, that led into Teen Titans, which was, you know, an excellent run on Teen Titans. And then they did New 52, and they're like, yep, Kid Flash is a different character now, and Superboy is different. And so when they brought Young Justice back, I was like, kind of like you said, I'm like, I don't really like what Bendis is doing with this. Like, I don't like some of these newer characters in here, but it's not, you know, changing Robin to Drake and the Connor Kent that's like still kind of confusing about who he is. And I was like, but I want to see Young Justice because I love that book. So again, and then like the mini series that came out, the Dark Crisis mini series, again, like that one, you know, was not good, and the writer of that clearly did not like the fans. But again, like, all right, I want more Young Justice, so if I keep buying these, maybe they'll give us another Young Justice book, and like, who knows, maybe Peter David writes it again, or maybe some other writer that that really liked it picks it up and keeps it in that same vein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, everything's corporate. Everything, you know.
Yeah.
So we lose something when corporations are running things. You know, when DC got taken over and they laid off so many senior editors, they laid off the people that were running the the reprinted edition thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just brutal. And you know, trade paper, I mean, anything new now, they'll slap as a trade paperback within 6 months, right?
Yep.
Anything new. And God, there are so many great old books out there that they haven't even collected yet. I mean, Tim, you know, one like I said, one thing that we'll read together is the Mandrake Horsestrander Spectre run. There have been 2 trades of that.
Yeah.
But that's something that the whole damn thing needs to be collected. And when I've talked to Peter Tomasi, who is one of my favorite writers, he edited that run, and he said he was always banging the drum at DC. You have got to collect this run.
I would love to see the entire Ostrander run. Just start there and do it in one big fat omnibus.
Yep.
That would be.
Yep. And I know you're still hunting down those issues, but my God, that is so good. Mike Grill's Warlord run has not.
Well, I just got issue 1 not too long ago, and that took me forever to find.
Well, and with that, IDW is telling DC, we will publish this.
Yeah.
Let us have the rights to publish. We will pay for the publishing. You get a chunk of this, and Mike Grill is wanting to get it done, but I don't know what the hell, why they're stopping that. But it's just, God, let's, you know, I like to support these collected editions from the past, you know, and try to buy those, because I want more of that product. You know,
And
the new
least
stuff,
more-
if it warrants it, I'll buy the trade of it, you know, and I'll still have my originals of it. But, you know, it's just,
Well, see,
you
and
know,
that I think is where Marvel is doing better
Yes.
with the
Marvel
Magic
Epic Collections is
Well,
great.
great. Yes.
the Epic collections are cash friendly, right?
Yeah.
And you get good quality paper, and you get these epic collections, mini omnibuses, but
Right.
they're masterworks, putting out the old Silver Age
Yeah,
stuff
the
and just
golden
going
age of
in
Silver.
order. That is hitting the mark.
And the epics are about twice as thick as what a masterwork is, and
Yeah.
cheaper. So
Yeah.
now they're $50,
Paperback.
but you're getting a lot of content. And
Well, the
then
Epic
it's like
collections,
with,
I think, are even less than $50, maybe $30.
well,
I think.
They're 35.
they started out as 35. Now some of the thicker ones are $49.99.
Yeah.
So that's what my buddy Rob that runs is the head owner there at the shop. He's like, they're getting pricey. But I told him, I said, look, we just had one in the current previews where you're getting Spider-Man 18 to 38. You're getting the last half of the Ditko run. You're paying $50 for that, and you're getting half of the Spider-Man collection for $50. You can't buy any issue from 18 to 38 for less than $50 unless it is beat to hell, right?
Yep. You
So-
could get a good chunk of the first. You could get like I don't know how many is in them, but the first chunk storyline of the very first run of the New Mutants, of X Factor, of Excalibur. I mean, that right there is worth the price of admission.
And they don't overlap with the numbers. They don't overlap.
no.
You know, they have them where they fit right in. And you know, they even number like this is issue 3 in the epic. And like say there's 28 Spider-Man epics. They haven't released them all yet. They're going here and here and here and here. And eventually they'll fill them all in.
Yeah.
But you pick your era. You know, I started collecting, I think my first Spider-Man was like 156, 157. Well, I'm going to have all those collected, whether hardback or masterwork or trade paperback, but all those getting into where I started collecting to 200 is probably where I'll have all those.
Yeah.
Even though I have the originals, I'll have all those collected because again, that's nostalgia. Those books, when I first started collecting, I really want to have the copies where I don't have to open the originals. You know, I can look at those epic collections.
I got the epic collection of Craven's Last Hunt. And thank you, Dan, or thank you, Tim, that helped me bring that. That brought me.
I was looking at Dan while you were.
I appreciate it.
While it paused for.
But I got the Craven's Last Hunt epic edition, and it has the entire thing of Craven's Last Hunt, which is, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man story in the history of ever. But it also has like the marriage of Peter and Mary Jane, and they have all the extended other little goodies in it, as well as the main story that they're trying to put out there and tell, which is great.
Well, let's go ahead, gentlemen, and take this right down to the last. Like I told you before, I'm going to ask you how each of you felt when you came out of the theater. Go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing for nostalgia. Like I'm in the age range, like, early 40s, where a lot of this stuff for nostalgia from my childhood is what's popular now. The Transformers movies. I know they teased the G.I. Joe movie. They got, like I said, they got the He-Man cartoons that are on Netflix, and there's a movie about, I grew up like watching The Fall Guy, and there's a Fall Guy movie coming out, which Ryan Gosling's going to play Colt Seaver, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
But but it's a lot of this stuff that I liked as a kid, shows and comics and movies and stuff that's like getting remade now or getting continuations and stuff, which nostalgia wise is cool for me. But as a father, my daughter's only 5 years old now. So this is going to take decades and decades to happen. And I hope that I'm around to see it. But when she gets to be a bit older, seeing what nostalgia stuff is like, all right, this is the stuff that, that you liked as a kid. And now the stuff that is, we'll have the cycle that is there for her to be as a kid, and then we'll kind of fade out, and then we'll cycle back again. Because I mean, even still, like they're doing the superpowers, the new superpowers line again. They brought back like the G.I. Joe type figures that were around when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting for me to see. And like I said, this is going to take years and years. Gary could probably speak better to it since his daughters are older. Seeing like, all right, this is what you liked as a kid, and then it goes away, and then you get a bit older and you start getting nostalgic. And really, it's when the people that are of that generation become the ones that are running movie studios and that are running the comic companies and the toy companies, and they're like, hey, I love this as a kid, and I want and it's kind of like, I love this as a kid, and I want to bring this back for my kids. So that they can experience a thing that I love too. So it'll be interesting for me as a father to see how that plays out in the years to come.
Nice.
Dan, I'm trying to capture that. Like I said, when I watch these Christmas specials, right? Yeah. I loved watching Rudolph and Charlie Brown with my girls, and my girls are gone now. And I don't have them when those things come on TV now, but Diane and I'll sit there and watch them. And it's a little bit bittersweet, I guess, you know what I mean, that they're not there, but I hearken back to those when I could share that with them. And you're right, the things, Sailor Moon, my oldest daughter, that she loves Sailor Moon, and so she's still is nostalgic for that. And how big they were in the Harry Potter books when they came out. I mean, I went to bookstore openings at midnight for them to get those for
that
her
they
to get
had
those
to have.
they had to have. And so they're nostalgic for that. And then, my taste have done that with like music. I'm still stuck in the 80s music wise, right?
It's a good decade to
Mellencamp.
Yeah.
Hey, Mellencamp, Bryan Adams, Def Leppard, Journey. I mean, I'm stuck in that. I still play. I play those stations all the time. And you're right. It was a really good time for music. But I am a boomer. I'm the only baby boomer on our crew here, and I was 64. Boomer. I know 64 was the last year of the boomers, but they started, I think, this whole nostalgia trend that went so big, everything, and the boomers, we're fading out now, and the next generation is going in and running everything. And yes, what they're nostalgic for is what we'll see, and then we'll keep moving. And that's the cycle that always go. Yeah. One thing that I feel sad about in comics sometimes is when I realize that there are many, really the books for the most part aren't being written for me anymore.
Yep.
And I feel
you got me.
Yep. I feel that it's like a Justice, for years there wasn't a Justice Society book, right? Because it didn't fit in with the timeline. Well, tell a book that's say this is a Justice Society book from the old timeline and give us something. Right? Yes. Give us something, us guys that have invested and love these characters, that want to see Hourman and want to see Hawkman and want to see the Golden Age Atom and Starman and Wildcat. Give us something. It doesn't have to be in current continuity, right? It doesn't have to be, but give us something. But I just feel sometimes that we're not. I know
we are not the target audience anymore.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
and that's inevitable. But it's like, we still command enough of the market, though. You give us a good book that we will buy, and we'll still make it profitable for you. But it is a hard realization that you realize that the books aren't targeted for us anymore.
And the funny thing is, we are the ones that are buying them.
Well,
the stuff that they want to target these new characters and new ideas for are being targeted to a generation that that are just they're not buying the way that our generation bought comics. And you know what? There's no, I got no, there's no problem with introducing new characters and new iterations of character or anything, but it doesn't mean that you have to neglect the old characters around. Like, and like I mentioned with the Young Justice Dark Crisis book, that's kind of what the writer, if you read it, there was this one page of this whole kind of soliloquy this character gave, which was basically
you told me about this.
Yeah, which was basically like the writer insulting the fans who were saying, like, we want these characters, and she wrote it with the character in there saying, to kind of condescend and talk down to the fans, like, you just want these ones that are around, who wants the new things, and the new things suck. I'm like, it's not about that. Like, I don't care if you want to have, a new Kid Flash, and you want to have, a new different Green Lantern and a new Superboy, and this, like, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of all these characters that I've already spent decades invested in. Like, I want to read those characters, and
exactly,
I'll read the new characters too if they're good. But these characters I'm invested in, and I want to keep reading them. And you know what? If you're putting out good stories for them, and you introduce new characters in their books, like Ravager was a new character that was in a book of characters that I already liked and was reading. And then I was like, hey, you know what? I really dig this character. And then so now I'm going to read more of that character whenever they put stuff out.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and circle back to how we felt and really close this nostalgic episode out. One word, gentlemen. I know it's going to be tough, but I think you all can do it. One word. Kevin, how did you feel when you came out seeing Batman 1989 first time?
Inspired.
Very awesome. Dan, one word. How did you feel?
Whoa.
Okay. Uncle Gary.
Okay, so we're talking about how we felt after we saw the first one in 1989.
That's right.
Relieved. And listen, happy, but relieved because, again, for many years, there was talk of a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? At one point, Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy were going to be Batman and Robin. What the 60s TV show did to the image of Batman, that movie comes out. And look, it was many people's first exposure to Batman. It was my first exposure. But when that movie came out, and it was a Batman that I loved in my heart, I was relieved, happy. Yeah.
I think, though, the one word for me would be awe. I've never seen anything like that on screen before. Awe. And
my parents took me to see it, and I remember when we came out.
My dad.
My mom went, "Oh, this." Like, well, it was pretty dark. I was like, "Well, it is gothic. It's Gotham City."
Did you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Dude, the Batmobile and the Batwing themselves.
We could talk about this all night, but the sun will come up.
Well, let me just say one thing while we're talking about this, right? We're talking about what that did for Batman, right?
Yeah.
What that did for Batman. Go back a little bit further. Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams.
Yes.
Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. Listen, I said that on here. I'll say it forever. I'm going to always say this. If you're a fan of the modern day Batman, you owe a great debt of gratitude to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams for bringing Batman back from what the TV show did to him and what the public consciousness of Batman was. They made him a detective again. They moved Robin to college to make him a loner again, put him back to his gothic roots. And I know we're all familiar with the great Batman 251 cover where the Joker's holding the playing card and Batman's on the cover, right? Yep. The Joker hadn't been in a Batman book in 4 years when that came out.
Wow.
Denny O'Neil wrote it. Neil Adams drew it. The Joker's five-way revenge. They made the Joker homicidal and frightening. The Joker had somebody in his gang that squealed on him. 5 members of the gang. So forget trying to figure out who it was. Just kill them all.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. He systematically sets out to kill them all. But that's what they did, and they made him a creature of the night. They
Yep.
made him to be feared. So you don't get to where Keaton is Batman without Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams,
Yep.
putting that character back to his roots. So I mean, I know, I'm sorry I took that up, Tim, but I just always want to hammer that home. The source material is so important.
And if you
Toadmaster
hate
is still
Batman,
going.
and if you hate Batman, go a little bit further and go to George Clooney and Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, that's horrible. We will end it there. Let's not end on a super sour note, but just a slightly sour. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of this entire experience tonight. It was nostalgic. It was amazing. It was a walk down memory lane, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did presenting it to you. With that
Absolutely.
being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are on all the socials. All you got to do is type in at the Codex Station, and that is where you will find us. Your favorite social media platforms, and so much more. Dan, they got to do something when they get there. What would that be?
Yeah, you got to follow us or subscribe, whatever it happens to be. You got to click like on the video you're watching and on all the other ones. Leave some comments. It helps us out to let us know what you like and don't like, and helps the algorithm pump us up a little bit more.
There
Help
you
us
go.
help you.
Yes, absolutely. And by doing that, you can go to the Codex. Bless you.
Thank you.
Woo,
Good God.
woo.
Ooh, excuse me. All right.
You can go to thecodexstation.com, get some tissues for Kevin, and also get some merch, meet the team, and so much more. Yeah, that woke me up. I'm
Hey, Sal,
got my second win.
To come back on. He woke Sal up.
Yeah, exactly. What was that? That was Kevin sneezing into his elbow. Right on. Speaking of that, Kevin, why don't you just go ahead and take us down a walk on Facebook lane and let us know what you do there.
All right, groovy. I created a group over on Facebook and Instagram called Comic Character of the Day, where we post a different character and all sorts of other goodies that we all love and adore about this comic book geekery. So there's that. But if you really need a selling point, Uncle Gary there does the covers every day, and he is killing it. So come on over, check us out, join up, and see what he has to do every day for all of you.
Absolutely. And Dan, what about some Instagram for us? Give us the gram on the Insta.
Just go to Dan Kelly Art on Instagram and follow me and like everything that I do.
Every single thing.
Commissions are open, so let me know what you want and make your money become my money.
There you go. And Uncle Gary, please let people know where they can find you when you are not codexing with the codexers.
Thank you. First off, Kevin, thank you for the love, brother. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You want nostalgia? You're going to see some nostalgic covers, baby. Comic Character of the Day. Thanks, Kevin, for giving me that venue to do that. Something that's passionate about. So I'm Opie Taylor on Facebook. That's the name that I'll be posting these under. So you see me there. I am a co-owner of Comic Logic, Ashburn, Virginia. We're the only comic shop in Loudoun County. If you're in Northern Virginia, come see us. We surely would love to have you be a part of our clientele. I'm on a Facebook Live show called Ye Grumpier Old Nerds on the second and third Thursday of every month. 6-ish, we do this in the evening, and me and two of the other owners, we sit around, we talk sports, we talk comics, we talk TV, we talk anything else that old men like to talk about. So you can catch me there, and that's it, baby. Thank you.
Go. Kevin, with your head right below me. It's a polish. A little bit like that. Ladies, it's 2:00 in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you get when Tim has had about 4 hours of sleep and worked at a comic book shop all day. Anyways, I love you guys. It is amazing to have you here with us in the audience. It is amazing to sit here with these gentlemen talking about nostalgia and comic books and hearing the wealth of knowledge that is right here in this collection. I want to see you guys back for more Codex, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you next time.
See ya.